John Spagnola, President and CEO of Veterans Strategic Solutions. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're introducing this bill. You're trying to get it through Representative Corey Mills. He's introducing it soon. That's going to push forward written informed consent for veterans. Tell us a bit about that and where it stands.
Okay. Well, currently, the veterans are under the auspices of what they call verbal consent, which means when they go to an interview with a medical doctor, it's mandated that the medical doctor tell them the side effects of the medications before they take them. It's also mandated that the medical doctor tell them they have treatment options. I mean, there's many, like chiropractic and acupuncture and hyperbaric therapy, canine therapy. There's a long list. But if the veteran doesn't know they exist, he's not likely to take part in those. So we want to make sure he understands that he has choices, right? Well, right now, it's run by what they call verbal consent, which means, verbally the doctor's telling him the side effects and the treatment options. The problem with verbal consent is, how do you monitor verbal consent? How do you enforce it? You can't. So there's really no way of knowing if veterans are receiving any information, So what we want to protect the veterans, and we want them to see that, by written informed consent, they would sign a form, the doctor would give them, and it would say, I was told both the side effects of the medications that are being recommended and the treatment options. So this way, if the doctor forgets, because doctors are so busy, right, they've got a workload, especially in the VA right now, that's kind of overwhelming at times. This will remind them, hey, you have to make sure the veteran knows the side effects and knows those treatment options. And this way the veteran has that ability to
What's
know
the
both.
worst case scenario here if the veteran doesn't know what the side effects are? What have we seen?
Well, it's a good question. Let me give you an example. Say you have a veteran and he's going to be placed on an SSRI with a form of antidepressant or a neuroleptic or a narcotic, because this bill covers certain classifications of what they call black box medications. Those are the highest risk, right? The first side effect on these medications is suicide ideation. And you're probably aware that veterans are up against quite a few suicides these days. But other side effects of the medications can be depression, anxiety, even hallucinations. So put yourself in a position of a veteran who's experiencing a hallucination or a suicide thought. You might think that could be coming from you and that you're broken. So why stick around, right? Whereas if you knew and the doctor told you, hey, this could manifest in terms of hallucinations and suicide ideation, and it happens to you, it might give you that extra time to think and go, well, wait a minute, the doctor said that could come from the medications, and I need to check with the doctor before taking any drastic actions.
How common is it for the drug to lead to these kinds of suicides and suicide ideation?
There's not really been any studies on that, and that's a great question, and that should be thoroughly studied. But we do know that roughly 20 or so veterans every day take their lives. So they're talking over 6,000 veterans actually committing suicide. Now these are the guys that fought for our country and were successful, came back to this, to the states as civilians, and for whatever reason took their own lives. So, we're real concerned about that, and we feel that if maybe they are more understanding of the side effects, they'd be more prepared so that, they'd live a better life, and their parents and their families could partake in making sure, they're making well-informed decisions.
What led you to want to push this bill forward?
Well, when I hear about these valiant warriors that have put their lives on the line, and really some of them sacrifice limbs and lives, and I look at these wonderful individuals, who are really the reason we have our freedoms, and you have a part of a TV network, and we have the freedoms and liberties that we have. Without them, we wouldn't have it. So what could be more important than giving back and thanking these individuals who are warriors and deserve, one, thanks, but two, protections.
Was there a specific time that you realized that this was a problem of not having written informed consent?
Yeah, what happened was I was reading through the Veteran Health Administration Handbook, where all the rules are, that apply to veterans. And in it, there was a stipulation that said that verbal consent is applied for low-risk treatments, i.e. most drugs. That was the wording. And I went, well, wait a minute, what about all the black box drugs, that are the highest risk? They need to be understood and included, and the veterans need to be protected, or at least aware of those. And when I found out it was sort of verbal consent, and that sort of might be optional, I said, oh, that's unacceptable. These guys, being the veterans, need to know, the side effects and that they have treatment options. It's in their best interest, and the family's, of course, best interest as well. And I think the doctors would agree it's helping them carry out their mandate.
But you seem to have some will inside of you to really help veterans. And the handbook is not a light reading. Were you looking for something to find a solution?
I'm always looking for solutions. I've worked on issues to protect children, issues just to protect people in general. And when I understood what was going on with the veterans, I did some research. You're right, it wasn't night reading. And I just looked into it, and I developed some great relationships with a lot of what they call veteran service organizations. And now, with this particular legislation, it's supported by the American Legion, VFW, the Jewish War Veterans, the Special Operations Association of America, the Navy SEAL Foundation CEO just wrote, she's supporting it as well. The Marine Reserve Association just wrote, and they're going to be supporting it, it looks like. So we have a long list of organizations that are supporting the bill, and they become part of like a family. And I'm just trying to work with them and help them with their mandates and their mission.
John Spagnola, President and CEO of Veteran Strategic Solutions, thank you very much for your time here.
Thank you for having me.